Hey there, I'm Louisiana estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais, and in this video I'm going to go over how someone can transfer their home to their living trust in order to avoid probate but still maintain their property tax homestead exemption. It's common for people who live in Louisiana to want to avoid the court and attorney involved succession procedure when they pass away. So the way to do that is to create your revocable living trust, transfer assets like your home and other assets to your trust so that when you pass away, those assets are not in your name. They're not subject to the court and attorney involved succession process. Assets in your living trust, they're not frozen. They don't require judges to get involved to sign court orders to order the disposition of those assets. The successor trustee that you name of your trust can immediately transfer those assets to your trust beneficiaries outside of the court and attorney involved succession procedure. But nonetheless, when you create a living trust, you do have to take that extra step in order to make it work of what's called funding your trust or transferring assets to your trust so that those assets are not in your name exposed to the succession procedure when you pass away. Most people who set up a living trust, they own a home and they have their property tax homestead exemption on their home. But in order to avoid their home from having to go through the court and attorney involved succession process when they pass away, it's important that they transfer their home to their trust. But what's the rule on if you transfer your home to a trust, do you get to keep your homestead exemption? Well, here's our property tax law as it's written in our Louisiana Constitution, and I almost have to read it. I do have to read it to apply it. So it says right there on the screen, the homestead exemption shall extend to property where the usufruct of the property has been granted to no more than two usufructuaries, typically a married couple perhaps, who were the immediate prior owners of the homestead, and the homestead is occupied by as such by a usufructuary. The provisions of this subparagraph shall apply only to property which qualified for the homestead exemption immediately prior to the granting of such usufruct, or which would have qualified for the homestead exemption if such usufruct has not been granted. So the practical effect of that is if you own your home and then you transfer your home to your living trust, but you retain the usufruct of your home, then you're still entitled to the homestead exemption. You meet all of the requirements of our Louisiana Constitution. So your home is in your trust. You have this right to use it, or you have this usufruct during your lifetime. When you pass away, your trust becomes the full owner of the property, and your successor trustee can sell the house next day or transfer it to the appropriate trust beneficiary if that was provided for in the trust instrument. So that, in essence, is how you can transfer your home to a trust but retain your homestead exemption.